So this video is mostly just kind of a link between options and real life events. And something that you can conclude from these exercises is that from a corporate perspective, it makes sense to buy options because you have unlimited profits and your losses are limited, right? So if you think about a corporation or like for doing business as a person, it makes sense to limit your losses because then you have less risk, right? In forwards, you had unlimited the possibility to have unlimited losses because the line was completely a diagonal, whether it was long or short. But in here, you have the option to cut that line and just have limited losses. So it is a very powerful financial instrument to hedge risk. So then why would it make sense to sell an option? Well, it doesn't make sense for anyone else who is not a bank or a broker. Why? Because if you are like a normal company who sells goods or services, your activity selling goods and services is not the financial market or selling financial instruments. But for banks, it is. For banks and brokers, their job is to sell financial instruments. So maybe a bank can find a client who has the opposite position, and like maybe imagine that maybe they can somehow get they can buy a call on the same asset and then maybe can draw a line. I don't know if you can see the mouse, but maybe something like this. So then they can cancel the unlimited losses, sorry, and then you just can win the spread. So it is possible that selling an option can be a good idea if you are a bank or a broker. But otherwise, it doesn't make any sense because then you are just limiting your profits and then you have unlimited losses. That means you have a lot of risk with almost nothing to win. So, but as hard to believe because reality or true real life is always better than fiction or any book. Reality brings us to something weird. I don't know if you remember the case of Comercial Mexicana, which is a retailer here in Mexico, something similar to Walmart, Tesco, or Carrefour, but it's like a Mexican Walmart. This company had a major crisis in around 2008. So I even found like a wiki page from that case. If you want to read, it's quite interesting. I will try to explain the highlights of this because it has to be with options. But the thing was that Comercial Mexicana was first, their activity, their main purpose is to sell goods, right? It's a retailer, so they sell foods, they sell any goods, toilet paper, or I don't know, choco milk. They even sell phones, so they sell everything, right? Walmart. But they don't sell options, right? They don't sell financial instruments. So the thing was that in the early 2000s, Walmart came to Mexico and it was a major thing, like a lot of competition. And I think the Mexican retailers weren't ready for a competition with Walmart. And we even had Carrefour for some time and a lot of competition at that time. So Comercial Mexicana was doing quite bad. So their numbers look quite red at that time in 2004, 2005. So then their CFO, which I don't remember his name, probably it's in here, that person decided to do something really weird. That person said, we already have options, usually from the buying perspective, Comercial Mexicano, because they deal with foreign currencies when they buy supplies or whatever. They bought calls and puts, but they say, why if we just build like a really complicated derivative where we can sell options, we can sell put or calls, or we can even sell different things. Here in the article explains better. But the thing was that Comercial Mexicana built a very complicated financial instrument that worked like this. if the dollar didn't go higher than around 13 pesos per dollar, at that time, I think the price of the dollar was around 11. If the price of the dollar didn't go higher than that, Comercial Mexicana will earn the premiums from those options, and they will just receive money from that. But if the price went higher than 13, they will have to pay a lot of money. So it was like a very dangerous bet. I remember this from a friend who went to, who he liked, I think he's still going to a casino and he likes to bet a lot. So one time he called me and he said, I have the perfect strategy because I am winning a lot of money. And I asked for that strategy and he said, I am playing in the roulette, you know, the roulette where you have like 36 numbers with colors, black and red, and you have 0 and 00. So he said, like, I am betting on every number except 3 numbers. So the 0, 00, and another one. And so every time that I play, I have huge chances of winning. And I think he was betting like 20,000 pesos and he was earning around 400 pesos or something every time that the roulette was playing. So he said, I'm getting a lot of profit because it's very difficult or it's very, it's not that possible or that probable that I will lose because it's only 3 numbers that will make me lose and 33 numbers that will make me win. So something very similar happened with Comercial Mexicana. Like at that time, the economy in the world was super good. The economy for Mexico was super good. Everything was stable. Everything looked good. And everyone was really happy. So Comercial Mexicana did this for like 2 years and they were getting profits from that. At some point, they were getting more profits from that instrument than from their normal activity. And for me, I think that is, I don't know, like an alarm. Like if you are doing more money from something that is not your main activity, then something's wrong, right? Like maybe you should become a bank instead of a retailer. So it was, I linked this with my friend's story because the same thing happened with my friend, the same thing that happened with Comercial Mexican. After 6 or 7 times that he played the roulette, in the 8th time, the number that wasn't supposed to come came. So he lost all the money. And so he lost everything, even the profits and all. So the same thing happened with Comercial Mexicana because you remember what happened in 2008, the financial crisis, right, in the US, and that affected Mexico, even like whatever is happening right now with the crisis that we have at the moment with the coronavirus. So from one day to the other, the price of the dollar went higher than 13, and then Comercial Mexicana needed to pay a lot. I think I told you about this story in the class when like 2 months ago, and I told you that Comercial Mexicana had to pay so many dollars that they used almost all the dollars in the market to pay to their clients, which were usually banks from abroad. So Comercial Mexicana almost went to bankruptcy. In the end, it was saved in a combination by the government and private banks because it was an important corporation. I think some people went to jail. A lot of people in the financial system, in the financial sector and in the markets were very angry with Comercial Mexicana for that very irresponsible strategy. And it was kind of a big mess. So in the end, kind of the takeaway point from this story is like selling an option is not a good idea unless you're a bank, because otherwise you can become like Comercial Mexicana, so don't do it. But it is a good idea to buy options because it reduces the risk and it limits your losses, and then you have a certain range where you can make unlimited profits. So I think that is if you want, you can check. I just Googled that, like Comercial Mexicana opciones. I don't know if it's in English. I think it's not, but you can find different examples of this with the responsible strategies that some companies do. So just be careful. Remember, in the end, the financial system is a lot like a casino. In the end, a lot of things are a bet. You can do a lot of numbers, but in the end, luck is luck. Like I remember this year in January, we had a meeting with people from Bloomberg who gave like their perspective on 2020, and they told us a lot of things that none of them came true, apart from government decisions here in Mexico, and also, of course, the coronavirus, something that we didn't expect. So in the end, you can think, do a lot of analysis, a lot of things, but in the end, it's actually a bit. So this is a good example, maybe a very extreme example, because there are a lot of things that you can still calculate, and you can, I don't know, lower their level of risk in your decision. But in the end, just take things with responsibility, especially if you are a huge company where a lot of people depend on their jobs depend on your decisions. So I think I will do the videos where I solve the activities and homeworks in case that you have any question. And we'll just keep on practicing this thing with derivatives.